talk. It's a great pleasure to be here. I'm Glaucia Souza, coordinator of FAPESP Bioenergy Research Program. FAPESP is the State of São Paulo research funding agency. And together with the Climate Change Program and the Biodiversity Program, we led this synthesis of knowledge, this project for scope, that focused on bioenergy sustainability. This was an effort that, as John mentioned, took 2 years to put together. We engaged 137 researchers from 24 countries, and we have a synthesis of knowledge volume that's open access. You can download from the web in the bioenfapesp.org website, and also a downloadable policy brief. What we cover is pretty much everything that we found was important at this point to define how bioenergy performed in the energy security, food security, environmental and climate security, sustainable development and innovation nexus. We're going to have a discussion today on some of these aspects. We cover developed and developing regions. Overall, there are more than 50 countries and regions that are mentioned in the volume, in the study. We raised the issues, we looked at the impacts, and we also looked at the benefits and solutions. So there's quite a lot of good material to evaluate, and this is a 789-page volume, but it's an e-book and it's easily searchable, so it's a good, I think, material for everyone to look when you're trying to address what to do. What are the next steps for the sustainable expansion of bioenergy in the world? As John mentioned, we have in the policy brief a summary of some of the discussions that we've had, and in the last page we had the way forward. So this is a list of take-home messages that the group produced that I think is a good summary of the discussions that we might be having here today. We have a great challenge ahead of us. In the liquid fuels alone, we expect that by 2050 we're going to have to produce half of the transport energy matrix will be biofuels. So how can we meet this demand to feed 2.1 billion cars that are expected to be here by 2050? And in the road transport, if road transport can have the help of electricity and hydrogen and gas, aviation sector does not have an option, so it's very important also to expand bioenergy for the aviation and sea maritime applications. And what we looked is that, what we found is that there's quite a lot of solutions now, an astounding number of technological developments in the world to meet this demand, and that bioenergy has a very good potential to contribute to decreasing emissions and mitigate climate change. But more than that, we saw that among renewable options, bioenergy is the one that has the most impacts in different sectors of society. So it can contribute to sustainable development, and we're going to hear today, we have a session to debate how can we actually implement this, and Eric already pointed out the complexities of implementing all these different aspects. When I'm talking about bioenergy, we're not talking only about liquid biofuels. We also have seen a great development in bioelectricity production in the world, biogas, and heat, which is very important, especially in developed regions of the country. So how can we see all this emerging market, and then what's going to happen in the next steps after we have the climate change conference in December? How can we contribute with bioenergy in this scenario? So this scientific study offers solutions, but it's science-based, it's not prescriptive. We looked at how to maximize benefits and synergies with policy recommendations. When you talk about policy, we looked at policy that would be necessary to meet the demand sustainably, to address the high costs and technological complexities of developing sustainable biorefinery systems and the infrastructure that is needed for that. Also, this is certification and social aspects. You're going to see chapters that touch quite a lot on these issues. Also, the important issue of bioenergy governance. We're talking about land use changes. We're talking about impacts on biodiversity and ecosystem services. How can bioenergy work together with protection of our environment? The emerging bioeconomy that is driven by bioenergy trade and also by our wish to use all carbon molecules. So this will be very important. No carbon getting wasted in this climate change when we are thinking about climate change. And finally, how can we finance the bioenergy effort? So this is also something that's going to be new business models, new financing schemes. How can we work together to help with science develop those schemes? So the group highlights the need to integrate policy across different sectors, and also that we have to look at strategies with a systems approach. So when you develop assessment policies, the strategies and the business models, you have to have an eye looking at the whole systems. This work was coordinated, as I mentioned, by the 3 FAPESP programs, BioN, Biota, and Climate Change. I have here 2 of the co-editors of the volume, Professor Reinaldo Victoria, who's over here, and Luciano Verdade. So Reinaldo Victoria is from the coordinator of the Climate Change Program, Luciano from the Biodiversity, Biota program. And I think the conversion of dialogue between these 3 programs contributed quite a lot, along with the 81 institutions that helped us put together this study, to see solutions with a different eye. And we saw that some of the problems now have solutions, so we were actually very glad to see a lot of new developments, technological developments over the years. So we feel we really need to disseminate knowledge better. Today is an opportunity to disseminate our findings, but also to try to see what the next steps will be, to work together to design what will be the path for sustainable expansion of bioenergy. So with that, I would like to thank the presence of Professor Carlos Henrique de Brito Cruz here. He's the scientific director of FAPESP, and he will be giving us a short keynote to introduce our debate. Thank you all for being here.